Well, I think it is a big deal. I mean, you would remember that, when was it? About 17th of December 2010 or so, when the Arab Spring was launched, which was primarily launched through the social media by just one young guy because of one incident which triggered the removal of 5 governments, in North Africa and so forth. So social media has become a powerful tool. It knows no border. It is in most jurisdictions also not entirely regulated.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the era of gadgets, and we were just chatting about it now, smartphones and access to all these devices, these things have become game changers because they disseminate information. They also disseminate disinformation. And we know that there's always a cost, there's always a price to pay to information. But disinformation also comes at quite a cost.
Yeah.
So I think the idea is for these bodies to realize the power of this tool. It is not going away anytime soon. It has become a necessary evil. So the idea is rather to strengthen institutions to remain true to their mandate, which is to conduct free and fair and credible elections, recognizing that we live in an environment of social media where you can't really draw borders around information anymore. Information is easily accessible, it is easily shared, it is disseminated. And so the idea is to really safeguard the sanctity of running proper, credible elections, but also having your handle on the sort of information that gets released on social media platforms in a way that they don't discredit these electoral processes and their outcomes, that you and effectively, influence peace and stabilities across jurisdictions. I think Africa, as a continent, is doing well in terms of embracing the value of these tools, the value of these technologies, but also understanding that in as much as these platforms are useful, they are also susceptible to abuse. And so the idea is really, on the one hand, you want to curb the abuse, but you also want to unleash the potential of these platforms to also add value and credibility to, for example, running elections.
The United Nations declared access to the internet as a fundamental human right, because access to the internet means access to information, and that is a human right. But we've seen in some elections that have been held on the continent where governments switch off the internet. And in their defense is to just address what you've just said, to say, well, there are people who might act responsibly out there and post things that are not true, but then there are others that are saying, but no, you want to control the narrative as a government. What are your thoughts around that? And do you think is that a solution to switching off the internet and basically curtailing off the use of social media in particular when it comes to elections?
I think shutting down the internet is pretty much accepting defeat, really. Is to say, as a government or as a regulatory body, we can simply not discharge our mandate competently enough. We can't put in place proper regulation. We can't strengthen whatever systems and processes we have to hold those to book who abuse, these technologies, who abuse this access to information. I would certainly not urge our government to follow suit, because it would simply be accepting defeat. I think, as you have correctly said, every process or every action that you are taking, you still maintain control over the narrative, and the social media platforms offers you that ability. It sort of offers you that platform to continue pushing your narrative out there, to control, to correct, wrong information, to challenge and confront disinformation. And shutting down the internet will simply not help you in that journey. It will just reinforce, unfortunately, that image that you are hiding something, that you're not running proper, fair, or credible elections, and that the outcomes of that election cannot be trusted. And it goes a step further to say, ostensibly then, if that entire process cannot be trusted, then whichever government perpetuates to come to power through that process must be discredited. So I think it's a dangerous thing to do from a policy perspective, to simply sit to criminals. And mind you, this thing is larger. I mean, we have occurrences such as cybercrime.
Absolutely.
Imagine if banks were to say, because we have cybercrime, we're not going to do internet banking. I mean, where would we be? So what you do, you remain on top of your game. You must always second guess, criminals, these cyber security criminals. You must always think quicker and faster and better than them, and make sure that you disrupt their evil networks. But you don't surrender. You don't surrender and basically declare defeat by saying, no, you know what? I'm going to shut down the internet. There'll be no social media for a week because we are voting, and then we must count the elections, and then we must verify the votes, and then we must recount again, and then we switch on the internet. That's not going to pull it. It will be regressing on the gains that we have achieved as a nation.